Welcome aboard, it's Captain G with another update of Historical Board Gaming's Operation Barbarossa. It is Germany, turn 3. This represents September and October of 1941. And as we mentioned last turn, at the end of the last video, with a 1 out of 12 chance, we did get snow. So this was our first winter turn. I have a few points laid out to go over what the Germans did to my forces. And we're going to start all the way in the extreme north, then come down here to the middle, and then end all the way down in Odessa. Okay, we're going to jump to those dice. So in the extreme north, Leningrad, Flak 88 pushed north with his 2 army groups and took both the southern and western zones of Leningrad, pushing basically the Soviet toehold here in this corner. Wiped out everything that was there. I was expecting that. That's why I pulled back, because the only reason they survived really is because he couldn't get to them. He's got 6 armor, 6 mech, 4 artillery for Germany in this western zone, plus the Finnish reinforcements that came down. And in the southern zone, he's got another 5 armor, 5 mechs, and 3 artillery, smattering of infantry, and a whole air wing, half a dozen tactical bombers. Sorry, I had a mental blank there, and 3 fighters. So still a significant force that could probably take these guys out and then move down. Now, one interesting factor is because it is winter, this lake and this lake basically become rivers. So instead of being impassable, you can cross them just like a river, so you doesn't take 2 movement, at least as far as we're interpreting it. And they are not totally surrounded, because now, since this is not impassable, they can reach these other shores. So I can evacuate or I can reinforce. And that impacts how we're playing encirclement rules. Plus, the Leningrad has supplies on hand, but if they're encircled and they have supplies, again, our house rule that we're playing with for this game to see how we like it is the supply consumption doubles if you're encircled, and even more, it doubles again if it's winter and you're encircled. So instead of 1, you consume 2, and instead of 2, you consume 4, which burns through a lot of supplies quickly. So that was one. That was a very victorious attack, or several attacks by Flak 88 to push up into Leningrad. Number 2 down here is just south of Smolensk. I was expecting him to come in to the north. I pretty much left it open for him, but instead he circled around, and he circled around with another large army group. Here he's got 4 armor, 4 artillery, 3 fighters, 22 infantry, I believe. So his largest infantry concentration, baiting me to attack. This blocking force is significant. There's no city or anything here, but these forces down here in Kiev are out of supply and encircled. So unless the Soviets can break through, because they don't have supplies to break out, unless I can break through and open up a path, they will be eliminated. So he's trying to place his army group right in the way. Right next to it, interestingly enough, Orel, on the last Soviet turn, this is when my tactical bombers pretty much devastated his force, and he did a full retreat, leaving nothing here in Orel. So on the Soviet turn, I'll actually get a partisan here, as opposed to a partisan in the back behind enemy lines, because he's garrisoned all these zones. But he left this one open, so interesting. This would be our first ever partisan in the game. By him doing this, he's preventing the partisans, but there's a lot of infantry, and those familiar with Global War 39, you're used to that, but there's just many more zones here. So that's a real drain on the German army group, to German and their minor allies, to prevent the rise of partisans. So that's number 2, south of Smolensk. 3, I touched on briefly. He moved into western Kiev, and so I'm holding on to eastern Kiev across the river, but the river penalty for an attack does not come into effect during a winter because it's frozen over, so you can just drive across or walk across. He's got a number of Romanian and German infantry and artillery on this side. His large army group and armor pushed further east, and I'll do those next. But if he wanted to, he could hit, bring in some air support, and take them out. I think he's waiting to see if I resupply them. If I don't, they just go away anyway, and he can just walk across the river. So number 4, Donetsk. At least that's what I'm calling the town. I can't pronounce either zone that's spelled out, but he moved the 6th Army under Paulus, and I hadn't used these yet, and I decided to pull them out just for fun. These are the commander's tokens. I think I've seen on some of his videos, Sky Marshal has this set, and I'm sure a number of you do as well. They go with this game. This is what it's from. And there is an optional rule where you can use commanders in your game on both sides. This one is, I should have placed someone I could pronounce, Roskovsky. But then you can, different commanders have different capabilities, adding to defense, giving movement, etc., etc., etc. So there's a dozen on each side, including on the German side, some Axis Minor commanders. The Finnish commander, if I remember correctly, is really good. I just don't remember his name. But Flak 88 and I are not using them, but I had them, and I glued on these little fellas there to represent them, so I decided to pimp out my task force markers just for fun. So, of course, with the 6th Army, although it's earlier in the war than he'd be in this role, I put Paulus there. So, Flak 88 moved in to Donetsk, took the western side of the river. This group has 11 armor, 10 mechs, 4 artillery, light on the infantry, and that's, because of all of this draw of manpower back here for sure. Plus he's using this for his casualties. But if he wants to on the other side, there's really nothing. Even if I stay and resist, there's nothing that can stop him from going across. There is a penalty for attacking in the city of a -1. There's a river penalty. Normally, if it's not winter, so that ordinarily would be a -2, but in this case it would only be -1 because no river. And we're doing, I think, from what I saw on Global War 36 Enthusiasts video about the latest update for Global War 36, they have a rule in the next version, 4.2 I believe, where when you attack in the cities, you only get 1 round of combat. And Flak 88 and I talked about that, and we thought that this would be a perfect game to take that rule. We thought that was a great idea. City combat is unique. So only 1 attack, and if you don't take the city, you have to retreat. And that's important because that's why this dice is red and not black, because it actually represents a communist victory. The Axis Minor forces down here, Romanians, their armor, artillery, and infantry, and this is less remaining than what they had, tried to take Odessa, but they were repulsed. He only got 1 round of attacks, and they were unable to take them out. So that was a success. We're doing what we're supposed to do, delaying. I don't know if I've mentioned it on prior videos, but the Axis miners are somewhat muted in their capabilities to the Germans and the Russians, and that's reflected in their battle stats. So an Axis miner armor only attacks, pardon me, only attacks and defends at a 5, compared to the strength of German or Soviet armor, which is 7. So, and same with artillery mechs, etc. They're not as capable. They don't get the battle stats. So those are the 4 major points, north to south. Talked a little bit about the impact of weather on combat. The way, again, we're doing supplies are with the depots. In sunny weather, normally a depot can supply all units up to 2 zones away, but in winter it's just adjacent. So that shortens your supply capability, requiring you to spread out your depots. And then at the end of each turn, regardless of how many attacks, whether you attacked, how many units were in the attack, it doesn't matter. Every depot, you remove 1 supply chip. Again, that's the rule that we're playing with. It's not base rules. So in winter, the base rules say double the supply cost. So we are doing that. So instead of taking off 1 supply, you're taking off 2. And since you're forced to have more depots to keep all your units in supply, you're consuming quite a lot more as well. So winter is unique. We've not had the rain season yet. That has its own challenges, and we'll talk more about that if and when we get to it. The other thing I want to point out, if I slide this over a little bit, down here in the reinforcement zone for Italy, most of the Italian task force is gone. They jumped on a German train that Flak 88 had pre-positioned and brought them up here, up north to the fight. Also, we've had the first of probably many to come repairs by the Germans for this infrastructure. So the success I had in taking out this rail is gone. Flak 88 went ahead and replaced it, or repaired it, and that cost him a build point. So that's why there's no orange ring around the, or chip underneath this. And then he fixed the bridge here as well. And that's critical because that allows these trucks and these supplies to move in non-combat to feed supplies to his Northern Army group, or even down to the Southern Army group. So I think that was it. We lost some factories, lost chunks of a number of cities. This does give, and I didn't put it on the tracker, but victory points are determined by the city value. So by taking this part of Donetsk, that's 1 victory point. Here in Western Kiev, where is it? There's another, that's 1 victory point, and so on. Moscow is the center city. The center of the city is 8, but I think you have to take the whole city. Stalingrad's 5, etc., etc. So he's earned quite a number of victory points. I'll total them up and I'll mention his victory point total. Based on how many victory points he gets, and I think the first threshold may be 20, and he's not there yet, but that unlocks some of the Axis miners. Again, the game doing a great job of taking in historical considerations. So as it looks like Germany's being successful in their offensive push deeper and deeper into Russia, more and more nations jump in. So Spain will join at a certain point. Romania will fully mobilize, unlock these units, and then send in a bunch of reinforcements. Bulgaria will join in the war. Same with Finland. They'll fully mobilize and they'll get more forces up there as well. So lots ahead of us. It's only turn 3. Next up will be the Soviet Turn 3 for my partner Flak 88. This is Captain G, over and out.